Hello, my pretties. It's the Lion Queen here. Welcome to episode 218 of Shadows and Pretties. So today I've been deciding, I would do a review on a Thomas movie. Now, wasn't really a Thomas fan when I was a kid, but I did remember watching a couple episodes with my brother, because at the time of the story, my brother was my brother was a kid. So, yeah, I actually have watched a few of the Thomas stuff, and this happened to be one of them. And this movie, this movie stars Peter Fonda, Mara Wilson, and Alec Baldwin in this movie. And this movie we're going to review today is called Thomas and the Magic Railroad. Now, most of us have probably seen this movie, when we were kids in the early, mid-2000s as well. I'm pretty sure everybody I have met has actually seen this movie. I've never met anybody who has never seen this movie. I mean, I might have met maybe a few people who have not seen this movie, but, there was that. I do plan to review a few Thomas movies in the future, like the Misty Island Rescue and that, because my brother is a Thomas fan, so I thought, you know what, I'll do a Thomas movie, because I have not done a review of it on this series. I mean, I've done a couple video games and that, but yeah. Anyways, I just want to let you guys know that I will be spoiling pretty much everything about this movie, so if you've not seen this movie, I highly recommend you click off this movie right now if you don't want any spoilers. So, this movie came out in the United Kingdom. It came out on July 14th of 2000. And it also came out in the United States at least a couple days after the movie came out. So pretty much 12 days. So, anyways, I guess with that being said about this movie, yeah, let's get started with this movie. Now, this Thomas the Magic Railroad movie is a 2000 children's fantasy adventure film written and directed by Britt Allcroft, who produced it with as well. This is the only theatrical live-action animated Thomas and Friends movies in the franchise. So the film stars Alec Baldwin, who happens to be Mr. Conductor. We also have Peter Fonda, who is Burnett Stone, Mara Wilson as Lily, and we do have a couple other actors that were playing as different characters in this movie. So, of course, this film is based on the British children's book series called the Railroad series by Reverend W. Ardway, and it's televisionized adaptation from the Thomas and Friends by Allcroft and the American television series Shining Time Station. So anyways, I guess we should get started with what this really is. So, the plans for the original Thomas and Friends started with Paramount Pictures, but were not carried through. So shortly afterwards, Destination Films began funding the project, and the production of this movie started in 1998. And the filming took place at the Strasburg Railroad in Pennsylvania, in Toronto, in Canada, on the Isles of Man. So, the film underwent extensive editing and following poor test screenings, resulting of the removal of the majority of the scenes featuring Doug Lennox's character, P.T. Boomer, who was originally intended to be the story's primarily antagonist, and recasting several of the voice actors, which I will be getting to that eventually. So, I guess with that being the case, and with that being said, there is a new, I heard rumors saying, a second theatrical live-action Thomas movie that was announced, I believe, in 2020, called Thomas and Friends Film is in development at Mantle Films, but I'm not really too sure what that is, because it's just rumors going around. Now, anyways, with that being the case and that being said, I think I'll go with the plot of the movie in case if you guys haven't really seen this movie yet. So, I guess with that being said, let's get started with this, because I know some of you guys have not watched this movie maybe in a couple years. I know some of you guys probably have, and I know some people have most likely watched this movie when you were kids. I mean, I watched this. I believe I still have this on VHS, but it's probably in storage right now, but I might show it off maybe in a video or something. I don't know. Depends if I ever find it or something. So basically, this plot is involving Sir Topham Hatt, aka the Fat Controller, and his family have left the island of Sodor on holiday with Edward, leaving Mr. Conductor in charge of all the engines. So Gordon complains that Thomas, they should have more than likely to take care of themselves, but however, when Diesel 10 races by scaring both engines, however, that's when he decides to start to cause trouble. So meanwhile, in the Shining Time station, Mr. Conductor is suffering a crisis. His supply of magic gold dust is alarmingly low and not enough for him to travel back from Sodor. At the Tinman's sheds, however, Thomas is talking to James when Diesel 10 arrives and announces his plan to rid of Sodor of steam engines, finding a way to destroy Lady, the lost engine. So the key to the steam engines living at peace, Thomas leaves to go collect Mr. Conductor. However, Lady is hidden in the workshop in the Muffle Mountain after Diesel 10's previous attempt to destroy her. Lady is unable to steam despite trying all the coals in the Indian city, or valley. So at the sheds, the steam engines conclude that they should find Lady before Diesel 10, unaware of the subordinates of Diesel 10, Splatter, and Dodge, are spying on them. So that night, Diesel 10 approaches the shed where the steam engines are sleeping and destroys half of it with his claw. However, Mr. Conductor tries to keep him in order, but his gold dust fails and Mr. Conductor scares Diesel 10 away by threatening to pour a bag of sugar in his fuel tanks. Meanwhile, Burnett's granddaughter Lily is visiting her grandfather when she meets a dog named Mutt at the rail station. So when Lily meets Mr. Conductor's cousin Junior and Stacy Jones, before she is taken to Burnett's house, Mr. Conductor calls his cousin, Mr. C. Jr., to help him with his gold dust crisis. So that night, Percy and James and Thomas conclude that there's a secret railway behind the Sodor and Shining Time. After spying on their conversation, however, Diesel 10 goes to Smelter's yard to tell Splatter and Dodge of his plans to destroy Lady. However, observing this, Toby distracts Diesel 10 by ringing his bell, causing Diesel 10 to knock one of the supports out of the shed with his claw, which collapses with the roof on top of him. So the next morning, Thomas collects 6 of the coal trucks for Henry. One of them accidentally rolls through the buffers leading to the secret railway. Later that day, however, Mr. Conductor is abducted by Diesel 10, who threatens to drop him off at the Valentine unless he divulges the location of the buffers. But however, Mr. Conductor cuts one of the claws of the hydro hoses with a pair of tin snips, or shears, and it's thrown free and he lands in the Sodor windmill, where he finds a clue to the source of the gold dust. So however, Lily meets Patch, who takes her to Shining Time, where she meets Junior again, and Junior takes her through the Magic Railroad Sodor, where they meet Thomas. Thomas is not happy to see Junior, but agrees to help him and Lily to take them to the windmill, where they find Mr. Conductor. Junior then climbs onto one of the sails, but gets thrown onto Diesel 10's roof. So later that night, Percy finds the Splatter and Dodge have found themselves in the Sodor entrance to the Magic Railroad and goes to warn Thomas. So Thomas agrees to take Lily home. While traveling through the Magic Railroad, Thomas discovers the missing coal truck, which he collects it, and as Lily goes to find Mr. Burnett, leaving Thomas stranded. Thomas rolls down the mountain and re-enters the railroad through another secret portal, while meanwhile Junior reunites with Mr. Conductor, after managing to escape with James from Diesel 10 by using the last of his gold dust. So Lily finds Burnett in his workshop and explains the problem of getting Lady to steam. Lily suggests using the special coal from the Sodor, which Patch retrieves the truck, and Burnett uses the coal to start Lady. Now steaming Lady takes Burnett, Lily, Patch, and Mutt along the railroad. So Thomas arrives and the two engines return to Sodor, where they meet Mr. Conductor and Junior. However, though, that's when Diesel 10 arrives with Splatter and Dodge, who decides to stop helping him. So Diesel 10 ends up chasing Thomas and Lady to the Velduct. However, when the steam engines make his safety across, but the Velduct collapses underneath Diesel 10's weight, and then he falls and lands into a barrage filled with sludge, and that's basically his defeat. So Thomas and Laney and Burnett return to the grotto, and Lily combines the water from the wishing well and shavings from the magic road to make more gold dust. So Junior decides to go to work on Sodor, and Mr. Conductor gives him his hat before sending him to another railway. Lily, Burnett, Patch, and Mutt return to Shining Time as Lady returns to the Magic Railroad, while Thomas travels home into the sunset, and that's how the movie ends. This was a really great story. I actually really loved this movie as a kid. I mean, it's got really good concept, and it's a pretty good story and plot line. So I definitely gotta really say, it's honestly just a really good story for how this is. I mean, when I first saw this, I honestly really do ended up falling in love with this movie. It's a pretty good Thomas movie. I mean, for somebody like me who is not a crazy fan of Thomas, this has got good acting. Like Alec Baldwin did good as Mr. Conductor. Peter Fonda did great as Burnett Stone. Mara Wilson did great as Lily Stone. We also have a couple more other people like, we do have a couple other people that were also included in there. Like, we got some pretty good voices. We got Britt Allcroft, who is Lady, actually. And we all have, all the engines. And, I mean, the voice acting was really great. I mean, it was a really great movie, in my personal opinion. So I definitely really have to say it's a really awesome, well-made film for how this movie is. So I could definitely say there's definitely a lot of time and effort when it came to this, So anyways, with that being the case and that being said, let me go on with a little bit of backstory with this movie for those who have not seen this movie in a while, because there are some really neat facts that we have not known about this movie. Yeah, so anyways, I guess we should get started with this, shall we? So, basically, the production and development in the early 1990s, the characters of Thomas the Tank Engine adapted from Rev W. Ardway's Railroad series into a TV series. Thomas the Tank Engine and Friends, created by Britt Allcroft at the height of its popularity. Following the free successful series, at the same time, Shining Time Station was an American series combined with the episodes from the previous series with the original live-action characters and scenarios. Also created by Allcroft along with Rick Sigelgrove, made it successful as in early in 1994, prior to the launch series of the Thomas's fourth series. However, though, Britt Allcroft plans to make a future film based on the two series that would make a use of model trains from Thomas in the live-action aesthetic versions of Shining Time Station. So that's actually pretty interesting that they started to make in development. So fast forward to mid to late of 1995, Britt Allcroft was approached by Barry Lyndon, a vice chairman of Paramount Pictures, with an idea for a Thomas film. So in February of 1996, Britt signed a contract to write the script for the film, working for the title Thomas and the Magic Railroad. London's interest thought it might have seemed to be for his 3-year-old daughter, who happened to be enfrailed by Thomas. According to the press release, filming was to take place at Chevron Studios in the United Kingdom and the U.S., with theatrical release dates set for 1997. However, later that year, after London left the company, Paramount shelved the plans for the film, left Allcroft to seek other sources of funding. So discussions with Polygram about the film were held, but not for long, because the company was being in the middle of cooperate with the resurrecting of and sale. So as in the summer of 1998, during Series 5 of the Thomas production, Allcroft saw a new Isles of Man of the film commission advert, and they were offering tax incentives to the companies wanting to film on the island. So Allcroft visited and felt that the location was perfect. So during that year, however, Barry Lyndon became the chairman of the newly founded Destination Films, owned by Sony Pictures, as he renewed his interest for the project. So Destination Films became the main financial backer for the film of the studio. So sometime in early of August of 1999, It was announced that Eric Baldwin, Mara Wilson, and Peter Fonda had joined to play the cast of Mr. Conductor, Lily Stone, and Burnett Stone, respectively. David Jacobs was the former vice president of the Brit Alcroft Company, stated that Baldwin got involved with the project because his daughter Ireland was a fan of the series. So John Bellis was originally attached to the voice of Thomas, but he was replaced by a Canadian actor, Edward Glenn, Edwin McGregor, and Bob Hoskins also expressed interest for the role. So, however, Michael Angus, the UK narrator for Thomas and Friends TV series at the time, was originally cast to voice both James and Percy, but was later replaced by the voice actress of Susan Roman and Linda Ballantine and Keith Scott. They were all originally set to, pretty much Diesel 10, but was later replaced by Neil Crone for the final film. So Patrick Breen, known as the narrator's Alcroft Magic Adventures of Mumfaith, was originally set to voice both Splatter and Dodge, but eventually got replaced by both Kevin Frank and Neil Crone. So I could definitely say that there was a lot of, concept art when it came to, how the movie was going to go out. But here's something more about debunking of how the film was originally going to be. But I know they had a lot of changes, and they kind of had to do some changes when it came to this movie. So, yeah, I could definitely say that right now. So, I could really say, this was actually a pretty interesting piece of information, because this was stuff I have never heard about when it came to this movie, especially when I first watched the movie. However, in 2007, the interview with Sodor Island Forums and France site, writer and director Brett Alcroft revealed that before the film's theatrical release, she and editor Ron Wiseman were forced to completely change the film from how she originally had written it by removing Burnett's rival, P.T. Boomer, played by Doug Lennox, who was the original antagonist and character originally responsible for Wrecking Lady. Because of the test audiences at the March of the 2000 preview screenings in Los Angeles considered Boomer to be too scary for the young children. If he was included, he would have been a great movie. I can definitely see that. He would have been a great character for the movie. But I guess maybe, since this was filmed in the early 2000s, it was filmed in the late 90s and it was released in 2000, but I guess maybe they were hesitant or something. So, I really don't know. But something like that along the lines. Despite most of the scenes being removed, Boomer can still be seen briefly in one scene. However, when it was redubbed with Boomer as mostly a motorcyclist, talking to Burnett for directions as the original cut. So Boomer, however, and Burnett were having a row. So Lily Stone, who was played by Mara Wilson, was intended to be the narrator of the story. So before filming, Thomas's voice was provided by John Bayliss, a British fireman for a part-time taxi driver who worked on the film as the Isles of the Man and the transportation coordinator and faculty manager. So, yeah, but however, though, in July of 1999, according to Alcroft, after keep hearing him speak for the first time, she told her colleagues that I have just heard the voice of Thomas, and that man's exactly how Thomas would sound. So a few days later, she was offered the role, and he accepted it. However, the test audiences felt that his voice was kind of too old for Thomas. I don't know why, but although Bayliss did receive an on-screen credit as the transportation coordinator for this, so yeah, that was kind of like how the original version was originally going to be released and all, but, they had to make, some altercations and everything like that. However, though, there is a video game of this movie called Thomas and the Magic Railroad Prince Studio, and it was released in the United Kingdom. However, there is a release for a PC version, which I don't know if anyone's ever done like a game for or anything like that. So, I guess with that being the case and that being said, however, though, there was going to be a sequel to this, but unfortunately, it was said sometime on July 1st of 2000. It was reported that Destination Films began a development on the sequel, but it was quietly canceled, and they basically tossed it all out the window. Like, I don't know why they canceled the, TV, the sequel for this movie out the window. Maybe they just didn't find any motivation to write it, or maybe they couldn't find a good plot line, or something. I really don't understand why, but despite with that being the case and with that being said, I definitely gotta really say it's a pretty good film for what this is, for the whole concept and everything. I mean, I really do like how well this movie was, made. Like, I like the animation parts of it. I like the live action part of it, which I thought that was really, really interesting. But I also really like the fact that this was a really interesting Thomas movie. I mean, especially from something that was filmed in the 90s, but wasn't released until the 2000. I mean, I really wish they released this sometime in the 90s, because it would have been made more sense to release it in the 90s, but it does give the nostalgic feel to it, so that I can definitely say right now. Now, I guess with that being the case, and with that being said, I actually found this movie was cool. I mean, it's a good movie. I mean, there were parts of it that was a little boring, but despite that, it was still a pretty good movie, especially for Thomas fans and for people who have loved Thomas as a kid. I mean, my brother has liked Thomas as a kid. I somewhat wasn't really that interested, but I did watch it when I was a kid. So, anyways, with that being the case and that being said, I'm going to sit here and just wrap up this video. But basically, I want to really say that it was a really good movie for what this is. And I really do like how the movie really was for the time of this story. So, I guess with that being the case and with that being said, I'm going to sit here and just say this is just simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these, movies. And this is just simply my own personal thoughts. So I guess with that being said, for those who are, fans of Thomas, I recommend you watch this movie if you haven't. So with that being the case and that being said, I'm going to sit here and just say, if you don't like this movie, that's perfectly fine. I respect your opinion. If you like this movie, that's cool. Feel free to state your own thoughts and opinions down in the comments below, because I'd like to hear what you guys all think of the movie, because I want to know what you guys all think. So anyways, with that being the case and that being said, I'm going to sit here and just say right now that this is just simply my own personal opinion. And if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. Now, with that being the case and with that being said, what did you guys personally think of this story? Did you enjoy it? But this movie. Did you enjoy this movie? Did you not? Did you think it was okay? Feel free to leave me now what your thoughts are down in the comments below. I'm the Lion Queen. I want to thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're brand new here to this channel, feel free to leave a like, comment, and subscribe. Ring the bell for notification bell, so that way you guys will get uploaded to my newest or latest uploads. And as always, with that being said, that being the case, I'll be catching you guys in the next video. Peace out. And like always, I'll see you all next time.